There is no perfect way to go through recovery. Everyone has a different story, and despite the mental, emotional, and physical challenges, people in recovery will say their life has changed for the better by removing substances. Sometimes it can feel like you're alone in your struggles, but you aren't. Millions of people experience the detrimental effects of substance use, but 75% are in recovery. Recovery is possible, and it helps to hear other people's stories of recovery to inspire you to start your own journey. We invited past Terra client Khaley to share his recovery story with you in our Recovery Through the Years series. Khaley struggled with substance use for most of his life. He found himself at Terra Treatment Center in 2019, but that wasn't the end of his story. The challenges Khaley faced were monumental, but each setback instilled a seed of desire to reach sobriety. Introduction of substances. Khaley grew up playing sports and spending time with his 3 older brothers and grandmother. She was the family's glue, always hosting family functions, and the two had a close relationship before she passed away in 2015. His parents divorced when he was 7 years old, and his father no longer played a notable role in his life. His father struggled with alcoholism, and it was a barrier to their relationship. As we know from our interview with Dr. Shah, the sooner a substance is introduced to someone, the more likely they are to develop substance use disorder. Khaley was introduced to alcohol and cigarettes in elementary school by his father. Although he didn't get addicted to cigarettes, the introduction of substances at an early age is what caused him to experiment with various drugs later in his life. He then transferred middle schools to attend a school with a better basketball program. He fell in with the wrong crowd between middle and high school and was introduced to many more drugs, including meth, cocaine, and marijuana. By the middle of his freshman year, he was drinking and smoking every day. Going into high school, Khaley quit the football and basketball teams. I said, "Screw it. I don't want to play anymore. I'd rather party." He continued this party habit throughout high school until his senior year. It was then that he decided he wanted to play football again. To do that, he needed to quit all substances he was using at the time, and he did. Khaley remembers, "I got it together. I started varsity halfback, played 4 games, then broke my leg. I've had problems with my leg ever since." Unfortunately, without the motivation to play sports, Khaley returned to cigarettes, alcohol, and now prescription pills he received at the hospital from his leg injury. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. After being arrested a few times, his mom sent him to live with his brother in Florida. Once again, Khaley went back to substance use and landed himself in a rehab center. A person has to make the choice to want to be sober, and Khaley wasn't there yet. He shares, "I lied the whole time. I'm 19 years old, and I was lying about everything. I wasn't trying to be honest. I remember sitting in this group session, and there was a poster that said, 'Crack is whack.' That struck me because that's what I was doing. That made me be honest with the group, and that's when some things started clicking." For the next 9 years, he tried several times to stay sober out of treatment, but nothing stuck. He would move and try to start fresh, then his friends would visit and they would use substances together. He would get back involved in the church and have a job, and then get arrested and be reintroduced to substances in jail. Although he did attend recovery group meetings, Khaley always felt like an outsider. He adds, "I always had this bad taste in my mouth with recovery meetings. I never had a good experience. I wasn't part of the clique in those areas. I was an outcast, so I didn't really stick with it." It's critical to feel supported in your recovery journey, and at the time, Khaley didn't. Although his family tried to be there for him the best they could, he really needed more support from others who could better relate to his struggle. Face everything and rise with Khaley. Making it to Terra. The day he made it to Terra was June 19, 2019. He shares, "My grandmother, who was my prayer warrior, my rock, passed away on June 19, 2015. When I went to sleep that night, I woke up and one of my roommates told me I was talking to my grandma in my sleep that night. That was a significant staple in my recovery at that point because there were some spirituality barriers being broken." Terra was the first treatment center Khaley went to that enforced accountability and structure. You have to make your bed every morning and do chores, which Khaley now appreciates about the experience. He comments, "They give you this to build the stability and love that you need, but they also keep you accountable. They're like, 'We understand you're in a funk. Let's get out of this. Let's get some chores done. Let's accomplish something first thing in the morning.'" Terra introduced him to different AA and NA groups in the community. These were a much different experience. He felt loved and accepted by the other members. He comments, "They didn't make me feel like an outcast at all." He remembers feeling accepted by employees at Terra, too. "Even the maintenance guys had enough time in their day to stop riding the lawnmower and just get real with me and talk to me. Tell me a little bit about their story," remembers Khaley. Everyone at Terra truly cares about each client and their success in overcoming addiction. Taking accountability. Taking accountability for your actions while in active addiction is never easy. However, it's an important step in every recovery story. Khaley had many mistakes, insecurities, and experiences to work through while at Terra. One of the most impactful parts of Khaley's time at Terra was a sign on the wall that read, FEAR. Forget everything and run. Face everything and rise. These sayings stuck with Khaley as he went back into the real world. At the time, he had 4 active warrants, and this saying is what motivated him to turn himself in all 4 counties he had warrants. Talk about taking accountability for your actions. Khaley was in and out of jail serving his time for about 2 years. He struggled with sobriety in jail. He recalls an experience that was a turning point for his recovery journey. I'm in Fort Wayne jail, and it's a rough jail. I had a moment where I ended up using, and I overdosed immediately. I'd never overdosed, I'd never used opioids, really. I woke up and all the paramedics were already there. Come to find out, it was a repressed fentanyl pill, which I thought was just some morphine pill. I made it to the hospital and people were telling me, like, you are gone. You were blue and you weren't breathing. You had barely had a pulse. It scared me. It happened so fast and I just woke up, but there's a good chance I could have not woken up. It was a total God moment for me. Although he struggled with his sobriety after treatment, he kept coming back to the saying face everything and rise he learned at Terra. His official sober date is February 2, 2021. He was released from jail after serving time for his last warrant in October 2021. He currently works at Turning Point, which offers support to those with mental health and addiction challenges. Khaley admits he still fails, makes mistakes, and lets people down, but it all comes back to progress, not perfection. He says, at the end of the day, no matter what I go through, I just don't put drugs in my body. I refuse to use again. I know relapse is always right around the corner. My friend John always said, my disease is out in the parking lot, and that disease is a 1,000-pound silverback gorilla waiting for me to come back and kick my ass. That stuck with me. He's also created strong friendships with law enforcement, people in recovery, and fellow churchgoers in the Indiana community. He remembers meeting a police officer at the Great Banquet event at his local church. I met a state police officer at the Great Banquet. He pulled our table into the prayer room one day and was like, I just have to let this out. He starts crying and he starts telling me, I've been judging drug addicts my entire life. It wasn't until I met you, Khaley, that you completely changed that. Khaley now dedicates his time to helping people in the community who have similar experiences to his own. In the youth center to speak to the kids, peer coach at a local middle school, Fulton County Jail to implement treatment plans and recovery meetings, frequently goes to NA meetings to work on his own sobriety through the 12-step program and to inspire others, connects with his sponsor to support each other in their recovery. Khaley is impacting people with his story, even people he hasn't met yet. We hope his story touched you as much as it did us. We understand recovery can be a windy road full of highs and lows. Your story isn't perfect, but it's not too late to take a new path to a better future.